the dignity of risk, and as it relates to inherent safety, right? And so we were brought Promethean fire, and we've wasted it for 40 years because we've institutionalized fear and disguised safety culture and consensus building, things that are normally unalloyed goods. We've actually started to weaponize these things and use them as excuses for not progressing on many different technologies, but especially nuclear. Who can be against safety? Well, no one. No one's against safety, actual safety. Just consensus is a great way to develop a pathway to common rules. Consensus has, at the very least, become a Byzantine exercise in covering one's butt. Consensus building, a thing that led to incredible progress, industrial progress, standardized threads to faucets to plugs. You know, the consensus had to be made through ASME and all sorts of places to do that. But now it's devolved into a means of dragging process down into an endless tar pit. We have, unfortunately, very good firsthand knowledge of this through the ANS 20.2 process. The people who worked in early nuclear and aerospace travel were not suicidal, all right? And neither were the developers of the polio vaccine, but they knew they had to take a great risk, okay? Greater good had to come from a great amount of risk. Now let me tell you, this scene is Glenn Seaborg giving a talk when they changed from uranium-235 fuel to uranium-233. So they were standing on top of an active reactor having that conference. Can you imagine? They weren't suicidal. The polio vaccine was first tested on the developer's own children, right? So the researchers who developed the vaccine believed it in enough and wanted to prove its effectiveness that they tested it on their own children. So imagine the commitment to that. Let's look back to the beginning of the Americans with Disability Act. Handicapped people used to be warehoused in institutions for their safety, right? They were handicapped, they were crippled. We need to keep them safe, safe, safe. Well, there was no accommodation for them in society, no wheelchair ramps, nothing like that. And they revolted back starting in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They literally would go out of their wheelchairs and climb up the steps of the United States Capitol building to say, I have no access to my own government. You need to give me access. What did they fight for? Well, they were fighting for the rights to their own life, to lead their life, right? And I get emotional about this because my mom spent her life in a wheelchair. This is an incredibly good thing, and these incredibly brave people fought for all of us, right? Because we're all going to be handicapped at some point. We're all going to be handicapped. And so the leader of the group gave this unbelievable talk, and he said, his talk was called The Dignity of Risk. And we have all benefited from this. And he said that I have the right to risk my life. I have the right to fall off the curb and into the gutter and get run over by a car. Because I have the right to go around in my chair. I have the right to be in society and be seen. And so we've all benefited hugely of that. They were willing to become hurt so that we all would lead better lives. And so, we still ask people to put themselves in huge danger. Test pilots, astronauts, we ask firefighters to not just watch fires until they're burned out, we ask them to go in and save people, right? And policemen, we still expect them to go into an active shooting scene and stop it. That's why we're so horrified when we find out that when a police person does not do that. We expect them to be brave. But John, you say, John, you can endanger yourself, you can go rock climbing, but you can't endanger others. Well, just as none of these people are suicidal, they're not murderers, right? The fireman does not run into the building just to watch someone laying on the floor burning and choking to death. Reactor designers and operators have to live with the machines that they operate and design. They aren't suicidal. They want a safe operating machine because they're right next to the machine, just like submariners are right next to their reactor. So I trust them. This is what it means to be in a society. I trust them to design machines that will not only not kill me, it won't kill themselves. Can you imagine the lives saved and the quality of life increase and the wars avoided if we had only built the 200 more reactors that we had online in 1980? What it would have meant to have an accident every 10 years if we had had the exact same track record with our fleet today. That accident rate would still be 0, right? Versus how many lives made better in every possible way. And everyone here is in support of Gen 4 inherently safe reactors, walk-away safe installations that have 0 credible terror scenarios, systems that have 0 legitimate beyond design basis accident scenarios. So the NRC is a nuclear regulatory commission, and they are regulating for safety and regulating for also for some economic impacts. Whereas the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission has it right in their name. At least they're upfront about it. You know, okay, we're our primary, but they don't have economic as one of their goals, right? So they're like, as long as you're safe, you can go bankrupt. You know, go ahead. So I will say this though. The NRC has been deeply involved with reviewing the VDR process in Canada, the vendor design review process. So there is hope. So, you know, you don't want to dump on the NRC completely. They're doing their jobs, they're doing what they were told to do. We need to change the policy makers. This is the whole point of this first part of the talk. The policy needs to be changed. We can't hide behind this culture of safety. What would you compare Gen 4 reactors to? You know, is it as dangerous as making ammonia? Is it as dangerous as making pesticides? You know, we have Bhopal, you know, thousands and thousands of people dead. You know, is it as dangerous as the petroleum industry? You know, where there's a huge, vast impacts? No, it's not anywhere near as dangerous as any of those. And it's easily arguable that the risk profile of Gen 4 is far, far less than this. And most obvious of all, you know, there's the environmental hazards are greatly ameliorated. Gen 4 and variants can't explode. Petroleum, natural gas, pesticides, ammonia, all could have had explosive accidents, none of which would be a credible MSR, none of which would be a credible design basis accident for an MSR powered by thorium. So in the end, the phenomenal record of the light water reactor fleet could be made even geometrically, magnitudely safer, 10 times safer increase, 10 times mean time between failures, 10 times better scenarios. Is that enough? Is that enough now? Is it enough now to be that safe? Are we, if we're 10 times safer than the already proven 50-year track record of perfect safety in the Western world, are we safe enough now? We have met every demand of industry and government 10 times over with these new inherent safety designs. These designs, these thorium-based fuels, and extreme defense in depth. It's time to prioritize deployment. There is no more time. And on that point, I believe there's complete consensus. So that's my talk.